Good evening and Happy New Year. I'd like to call the City of West Bend Licensing Board for Monday, January 7th, 2019 to order and recognize that we do have a quorum of the Licensing Board here tonight. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 3 items on tonight's agenda, starting off with item number 1, approval of the minutes from the Licensing Board regular meeting of December 17th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item number 2 is applications for an available non-reserve original Class B combination liquor license. And I believe this is just kind of a reading off of who has applied.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Who has applied?
Did you want me to read them? Okay. The Hub and Volunteer Center of Washington County, Pearl of Canton, is it Busdom's Long Branch Saloon, and Charcoal Grill.
And there's no action on item number 2? Would you like to explain?
Yep,
It's
I'm going to
unusual
kind of
to-
explain the process so that everybody kind of understands. So there's 2 types of liquor licenses. We're talking combination licenses, so you can serve beer, wine, and liquor. The ones that the city typically has available are what's called reserve licenses, which come with a $10,000 upfront payment as an application fee, which the applicant has to pay. The city does have a set number of non-reserve licenses. Those are typically have all been given out and issued at this time. One of them had previously come up over the summer or spring of last year. That one was given back to the city because they never paid to have that license issued. So when a non-reserve license comes up, it becomes available, the city follows a process. We publish a Class 1 notice in the newspaper for 30 days prior, basically noting to everybody that there's a non-reserve license available. One of the things the city looks for in making a determination about issuing these, because there's usually multiple applicants, is we have a list of guidelines that we ask applicants to apply or to fill out as part of their application. That you will find in your materials. The process we follow is there's a determination and recommendation by the licensing board. That is where we're at right now. From there, then it'll be referred to Common Council, and Common Council can discuss it further if they want, and they make the final decision regarding that, the issuance of that liquor license. So you'll see, unlike a lot of the other renewals and such that are just on the consent agenda, this is actually a discussion item on the Common Council for the final approval.
Thanks, Ian. And my understanding is that 2 of the applicants already own a license, right? That are,
Yes.
That is correct. Charcoal Grill already has a license, and so does the Long Branch Saloon.
okay. All right, we'll jump ahead then to item number 3, which is a recommendation to the council regarding non-reserve applicants' guideline responses from the Volunteer Center of Washington County, the Hub, Social Good Brews, 303 Water Street, Pearl of Canton LLC, Pearl of Canton at 102 South Main Street, and Maple Road LLC, Busdom's Long Branch Saloon, 1800 Barton Avenue. And I think also Charcoal Grill should probably be on there as well.
No, they did not provide any guidelines.
Okay.
Answers
Gotcha.
to the
So they're
guidelines.
not on there. All right. May I have a motion on the item? And just so the public is aware, the licensing committee is actually just myself, Stephanie, and Alderman Hoogaster. And then this will be referred to the Common Council in a few minutes for further discussion.
After reading over the guidelines, I would make a recommendation for Pearl of Canton to give them the non-reserve license.
I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded, and again, we'll probably have further discussion on this at the council level. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. And item number 4 is approve operators licenses with the list that's in our packet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. And there being no further business before the licensing board, I adjourn. Rich?
Good evening. I'd like to call the Finance Committee for January 7th to order. We have 2 items on the agenda. Item number 1 is the minutes of the December 17th meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. And that motion carries. And item number 2 is a resolution accepting a donation from Ms. Rita Locken, with presentation by Chief Kudek. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. You have before you a request to accept a donation from Mrs. Luckin. The fire department for the last few years has partnered with American Red Cross, and we have a free smoke detector program where we give smoke detectors to senior citizens or those that can't afford smoke detectors. We do an installation, and at the same time, we also do a home safety fire inspection. Mrs. Luckin had that service done. She appreciated it. She gave us a donation of $100 to put back into the account so that we can continue the program even farther. If you look at the last items on that resolution, it's putting the money into the donations account and then taking that money out of the donations account and putting it into the expense account where we buy the smoke detectors from.
Great. Thanks, Chief. And definitely a huge thank you to Ms. Locken. Take a motion on the item.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. That motion carries. And being no further business before the Finance Committee, I adjourn.
Thanks, Rich. I'd like to call the City of West Bend Common Council for Monday, January 7th, 2019 to order and recognize that 7 of 8 aldermen are here, and Alderman Jenkins, I believe, is en route. Item number 1 is a proclamation regarding adult crossing guards. Are there any crossing guards here tonight? Would you guys mind standing up so we can recognize you a little bit? Thanks for the work that you guys do. You can either remain standing or have a seat while I read the proclamation, which reads, whereas school crossing guards stand faithfully at their posts along busy intersections in every kind of weather while dealing with distracted and speeding motorists to complete their charge of safely assisting school children across the street. And whereas school crossing guards provide children a familiar face every morning, keep an eye out for their well-being, and alert the police department to dangerous drivers and driving conditions. And whereas school crossing guards help reinforce the minds of the young people they assist the importance of traffic hazard identification and safe street crossing behavior. And whereas local declarations, police department honors, and especially smiles and kind words from the children help to convey the gratitude of our community for the life-saving and injury-reducing role that school crossing guards play. Now, therefore, I, Craig K. Sadonico, Mayor in the City of West Bend, do hereby proclaim January 14th through the 18th, 2019, be designated as Adult School Crossing Guard Recognition Week for the wonderful assistance they provide our school children. Thanks to you guys, and thanks to your peers out on the streets. I'm sure today was a fun day to be out there. Hopefully better weather tomorrow. Thank you very much. Item number 2 is approval of the regular meeting Common Council minutes from December 17th, 2018.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Items 3 and 4 are the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Item number 5 is oath of office for firefighter paramedic Aaron Zilsdorf. Chief?
I, Aaron Zilsdorf,
I, Aaron Zulsdorf,
having been appointed as firefighter paramedic
having been appointed as firefighter paramedic
in the city of West Bend, Washington County,
in the city of West Bend, Washington County,
swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Wisconsin,
of the state of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you.
Aaron's father, Ron, is going to pin his badge on tonight, which is kind of special. Just a little background about Aaron. He grew up in the Oconomowoc area, graduated from high school in Oconomowoc. He attended his firefighter classes and his paramedic classes at Waukesha County Technical College. And he's continuing his education at Waukesha for his paramedic associate degree there. He comes to us from the Western Lakes Fire Department, where he's served the last 2.5 years as a fire intern. We're excited for Aaron. We think he's going to be a great addition to the fire department, and we welcome him.
Congratulations.
Moving ahead to item number 6, applications for an available non-reserve original Class B combination liquor license. And this is no action on this again, right? So I just skip ahead to number 7. Again, I don't want the parliamentary procedure police to come knocking. Item number 7 is the decision regarding a non-reserve license applicant's guideline responses. And again, we had 3 applicants for the position. Hello, Alderman Jenkins. Are there any questions, comments on the topic, the item? Otherwise, we'd entertain a motion, and we can have some discussion at that point, or we can talk right now if anyone has anything they'd like to ask.
I'll make a motion that we give the non-reserve license to Pearl of Canton based on their guideline responses.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded.
I just want to ask a question. Why would the Pearl of Canton be chosen over like the Hub or any other applicant for that matter? What are the criteria that are putting you in that position?
Dean and Stephanie, can you talk through that a bit?
I'm going to find the guidelines. Just 1 minute. And it explains how they're going to use their liquor license within the city, their parking.
Okay, it's basically the description that you got was
Right,
what made the
that's
difference.
what
Okay, I just wanted to.
That's what I
enough.
based my decision on,
Sure.
or my recommendation, I should say.
Thanks, Justice. Anybody else have a question or comment? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carries. Lead us through again what happens now. So for the applicants that did not get their license today, what are their choices and what happens?
If another non-reserve becomes available, their application is submitted until June 30th of this year when the licensing year starts over. So the 3 that we did not act on tonight, their application stays on file until June 30th of this year if another license would become available.
So that's beer, wine, and liquor.
Correct.
What happens
This
on
is
beer
mostly
and wine? Are those first come, first serve also, or is there?
The beer and wine, there is no quota on. There's only a quota on your liquor licenses, your Class B liquor, and them are the ones that are considered your non-reserves, reserve licenses.
So the Hub, for example, could come in and get a license for beer and wine on a moment's notice.
That's correct. In order to get a wine license, 51% of your sales have to come from food, and beer you can get. Anybody can apply for a beer license, Class B. It's the Class B liquor that is under a quota.
Okay.
And the other 2 businesses, the Charcoal Grill and Long Branch, have reserve licenses currently. So they paid their $10,000 up front. They already have those reserve licenses. Those are good as long as they renew them at that location. So,
Any other questions? Mike?
The reserve license holders are not obligated to that $10,000 payment annually, is that correct?
correct. It's a one-time upfront fee. The reason people apply for the non-reserve is because there are restrictions on the reserve licenses, such as you can't move premises. You can arguably possibly expand your premises, but if Charcoal Grill moved from where they're at to the old, the Perkins location, they couldn't transfer that. They'd have to apply for a new reserve license. So, and I'm not saying that's what's happening. Just to clarify, it was an example.
All right, thanks, Ian. Moving ahead to item number 8, a discussion on amending section 9.07 and creating section 9.075 and 12.175 of the municipal code regarding keeping of chickens in the city. Ian, would you just touch on the ordinance updates that were made since the last meeting?
So this is largely the same ordinance that we had previously discussed. There's some additions that planning and zoning added or tweaked a couple of languages. You'll note that the the term yard, or the chicken yard, was changed to a chicken run, which is just a tweak on the language. We added some of the provisions that we had previously discussed, that chickens must be contained within a coop or enclosed chicken run and may not be allowed to run at large throughout the property. We added the provision that notice will be provided to all adjoining property owners upon receipt of an application. There was a tweak as far as the single-family dwelling in the duplexes, and we specified within single-family or two-family zoned property, just to clarify that as well. The number 6 was added to compromise, or to clarify that chicken wire in this context is very appropriately used, but it can only be used for the enclosing the chicken run and not as a regular fencing material, as would be prohibited by our code. And that it's the property owner's responsibility to make sure that it doesn't violate any housing or any restrictive covenants or anything for a subdivision. A very common provision of restrictive covenants is that there's no chickens in that subdivision. So it's clarifying that it's not the city's responsibility to make sure that they're in compliance with their local housing restrictions. And then we changed the $50 per site license versus $8 per chicken, which is what we had discussed last meeting, doing a per house versus per chicken type license.
And it's $50 per year, whether you have 1 chicken or 4 chickens.
Correct.
So you can do the math on how valuable chickens are to you. And then we also, I believe, clarified that neighbors will be given notice. It's not a yay or nay on the neighbor's part, but there'll be
Correct.
notice that their neighbor plans to have chickens, so that they can either talk to their neighbor,
Yes.
share eggs, or also keep an eye on things if they're concerned about chickens.
Correct. It's a notice requirement, not a permission requirement.
Gotcha. Any other questions from the council before we entertain a motion? Chris?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a better question for you, Mark, but with the section here that talks about the no Cooper run shall be placed within 25 feet of any separate residential business structure, do we know what percentage of the population that would prohibit from having chickens?
It's going to severely restrict it in the more dense areas. The typical old-style 40-foot, 50-foot lots would be the biggest impact. It is still possible within those, but it's going to severely restrict those districts. I would guess it's going to restrict it to a very specific location in the center of the rear yard.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Mike?
I'd like to make a motion to eliminate ordinance section 9.07 sub 1 from the City of West Bend Municipal Code regarding the keeping of fowl within the city limits.
And then replacing it with 9.075?
The motion is to eliminate ordinance section 9.07, sub 1 from the City of West Bend Municipal Code regarding the keeping of fowl within the city limits.
Motion has been made.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there questions or comments? Oh, go ahead.
All right. I anticipated to receive at least 4, 5, 6 phone calls regarding yes and no, and within the last 3 weeks, I just received 1 email, 1 phone call. And 1 phone message was, yes, I would like to have chickens, but I've got a big lot. I can see that. But in a closed area, he didn't feel it was proper. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't get more people telling me one way or the other. So my decision is going to be the same as what I originally had, because I just don't have anybody telling me they want it in the city. And again, I don't have anybody negative regarding it. My only suggestion probably would be to put that on a referendum and let the public vote on that. And the public, if they want it, I think the public should have a right to give it instead of just giving it to just us 8 aldermen to make a decision on all the other residents. But again, that's just my personal opinion, because right now I can't make a really honest decision except to go with my first one.
Thanks, John. Mike?
Ian, can you help clarify my motion?
Stole my question.
So Alderman Christian did contact me today about what he was intending to do, and to clarify for everybody who's kind of looking around like what is going on with this. What his proposal is eliminating the restriction on keeping of fowl within the city. So 9.0, if you look at it, 9.07 is paren 1 is keeping of fowl prohibited. Alderman Christian's motion is basically eliminating that section, so there would not be a prohibition in general on the keeping of fowl within the city. And he's proposing to do that without then adopting the restrictions in the proposed ordinance 9.075. So it would essentially allow people to keep fowl or of any of the type we kind of describe here, the ducks, geese, etc. And he can explain further, what his thoughts are behind that. But I just wanted to clarify the legalities of what he was proposing, because he was asking the mechanism to do that. So,
Thanks, Ian. Mike?
I do have a statement that I'd like to read along with that motion. The right of my hand should extend to the fingertips of the next person. The Constitution tells us that should the federal government not need a power, that the power should then filter down to the states or the people. My point here is governing, like lawsuits, needs something called a cause of action. This means before a governing body gets involved in anything, there needs to be a significant reason for the government to act. My question here is this: what is the council's cause of action? Why are we involved in chickens at all? Unless an activity is considered disorderly conduct or creates a public nuisance, where is the cause of action? Do I think burying plutonium in your backyard is okay? Well, no, of course not. The toxicity will most surely breach the limits of your yard, putting members of the community at risk. However, we most certainly are not faced with any grave dangers due to members of our community pursuing their own happiness by raising chickens in their own backyard. We certainly don't need the local government putting unnecessary restrictions on something unless there exists a specific cause of action. If our civic rights can be burdened by policy-making obligations, we have failed in our attempt at protecting the very core of our Constitution. I would suggest that this ordinance be eliminated altogether and to allow our citizens their basic civic and property rights along with the opportunity to pursue their own happiness, so long as it does not create a public nuisance or is considered obscene or disorderly behavior. I'm in favor of personal property rights and support the pursuit of happiness by all citizens. I personally do not appreciate any unnecessary policy or government overreach that inhibits these freedoms. However, in the spirit of compromise, should this motion fail, I'm interested in protecting these rights with certain considerations, including those that we have discussed regarding maximum numbers of chickens, types of chickens, size, types, and locations of coops and runs, proper disposal of waste, and unfortunately, licensing fees. I believe, though, it is imperative to understand that these are simply considerations and should not be used to punish otherwise law-abiding citizens if they have been granted written permission by their immediate neighbors to operate outside of these guidelines. I urge my fellow council members to support this measure, for this conversation about chickens speaks directly to the constitutional freedoms that we collectively wish to protect.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions or comments? Justice?
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with a lot of what you're saying there, Mike. I mean, I think that adopting the ordinance as it's written here probably makes more sense to me. And I agree with you. There's kind of some bigger thoughts at play here, but I just think we're asking for trouble, letting people guide themselves as far as how many chickens they can have, because inevitably there's going to be the 20 or 30 chicken person out there. You know what I mean? If of the 10 people that have them, there's going to be the 2 chicken person, there's going to be the 20 chicken person. The 20 chicken person is going to be a problem. I don't see the issue with laying down some guidelines.
Thanks, Justice. Anybody else? And a motion has been made and seconded to eliminate section 9.07 of our, say it again?
9.07 parent 1.
Parent 1 of our ordinance regarding keeping of fowl,
Yes.
period. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Do we need a roll call vote, or is that obvious enough? Why don't we do a roll call vote?
Alderman Butchlick?
No.
Alderman Christian?
Yes.
Alderman Chevalier?
No.
Alderman Jenkins?
Yes.
Alderman Caston?
No.
Alderman Hoogaster?
No.
Alderman Model?
No.
Alderman Kist? No. Motion failed.
Do we have another motion available? on
Then I'll make a motion to adopt the Section 2, 9.075 as is presented.
Second.
Just to be clear, that's amending section 9.07,
Yes, thank you.
creating 9.075 and 12.175.
Yes.
Is that
Thank you,
also
Craig.
the second? That's also the second?
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, or discussion on that one? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Another roll call vote.
Alderman Butchlick?
No.
Alderman Christian?
Yes.
Alderman Chevalier?
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins?
Yes.
Alderman Caston? Alderman Hoogaster?
No.
Alderman Model?
Yes.
Alderman Kist?
No.
Motion tied.
Is this the appropriate time that
Yes.
we do this so rarely that I don't know? I vote aye.
Motion passes.
Stephanie, can we talk a little bit about the process? When can folks start coming in and paying for their chicken permit?
The ordinance does not go into effect until we publish it, and so you'd have to give us,
Well, we need a second reading.
oh, yes,
Yes.
I forgot
Because
that.
it was non-unanimous, there will be a second reading, so it will be placed back on for a second approval at the next meeting as well.
So don't order chickens yet.
Don't order chickens yet.
All right, got it.
It happens so rarely that it's not a non-unanimous ordinance. It doesn't happen, or it doesn't come up too often, but because it's non-unanimous, it will be back for a second reading.
Thanks for the discussion the last month or so, guys. We'll, I guess, finalize this one way or another in 2 weeks. Moving ahead to item number 9 is a report by Alderman Jenkins regarding the library board meeting and keeping of chickens at the library.
That was not discussed, although we have a lovely park that they probably could roam in. We talked more about our library website. That's still up and running since we launched it in December and kind of addressed some of the kinks. Byte Studios, who had built the site, are going to host it for the first year to assist in any issues that might come up. So we really appreciated them working with us in that endeavor. We approved our new system agreements to continue to be part of Monarch Library Systems. There's no major changes there. And we reviewed our materials donation policy, which there was no major changes either. That was it.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Alderman Jenkins? Before we hear from him, either Alderman Jenkins or Alderman Casson regarding the Plan Commission meeting.
Sure. I'll apologize because I know a few of us apparently forgot that there was a meeting, including myself, but I'm glad that some of us were able to make it, so we had a quorum. We held public hearings on a 15-acre parcel of land near University Drive to talk about from temporary to light industrial zoning, and then passed that recommendation. We approved site plan with additional driveway for an industrial building at 1021 North River Road. And then had a lengthy discussion on Alderman Christian actually brought up zoning regulations pertaining to certain residential fence restrictions. Had a lot of back and forth. In the end, we wanted to encourage some flexibility within the department. So they're going to come back with us in February with some options to kind of expand that conversation a little bit.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Then being no further business before the Common Council, I will adjourn. Are there any announcements tonight? I just have one. Anyone out there in the public interested in serving on either the Finance or Public Works Committees, please hit the city's website, do a little quick search, and you'll find the committee application process and application form. And we're taking applications through, what did we say, April 1st? For potential positions as citizen representatives on Finance and Public Works. We'd love to have a pile of applications to go through. Anybody else? Have a great evening, everyone.
Oh, that was a good one. I know it's gonna be. I didn't see one. Oh, nice.